Jaewon Kim took a deep breath as he straightened his blue suit jacket. Today was a big day. After 5 years of planning, he and his wife Mina were finally ready to ask for a loan to start their dream restaurant. It would be the first human-owned business in the main shopping district of Proxima Station. Ready? Mina asked, smoothing down her red dress. Her dark eyes showed both hope and worry. Ready, Jaewon said with a smile. He held her hand as they walked into the large white building with the glowing sign. Stellar Credit Union, serving all species. The inside of the bank was cold and bright. The walls were shiny white metal, and the floor was so clean it showed their reflections. Most of the people inside were not human. They were Draxians, tall aliens with light blue skin that looked like scales. They had 4 eyes and small slits on their necks that moved when they breathed. A young Draxian woman at the front desk looked up at them. Her 4 eyes blinked one after another in a wave. "We have a meeting with Director Jung," Jaewon said clearly, "about our business loan." The Draxian checked her screen. "Yes. Follow me." They walked past rows of desks, where other Draxians worked on floating screens of light. Jaewon noticed how some of them stared as they passed. Humans had lived on Proxima Station for 20 years now, but there were still not many of them. And even fewer humans with dark skin like Jaewon and Mina. The meeting room was at the end of a long hall. Inside, 3 Draxians waited at a large black table. In the middle sat Director Jung, his scales darker blue than the others, showing his age and rank. "Mr. and Mrs. Kim," he said without standing. His voice made 2 sounds at once, a deep tone and a higher whistling sound. "Please sit." Jaewon and Mina sat across from them. A blue light turned on above the table, and a 3D display appeared in the air between them. It showed all their files and plans. "We're very excited about our loan application," Jaewon began. "As you can see, we have saved money for 5 years. We have run 2 successful food stalls in the outer ring markets, and our new restaurant plan has been approved by the station board." Director Jung moved his long blue fingers through the light display, making files open and close. He did not look at them as he spoke. "Your accounts show good management," he admitted, "but I see you want to open this restaurant in the Central Plaza." "Yes," Mina said proudly. "It would be the first human restaurant there. We want to share Earth food with all species on the station." The director's neck slits fluttered, a sign that Draxians were not pleased. "The Central Plaza is very exclusive," he said. "The rents are high. The customers expect a certain level of refinement." Jaewon felt his heart beat faster, but kept his face calm. "We understand. That's why our business plan is so detailed. We've even hired a Draxian chef who will help us adapt our recipes for different species." The director looked at the other 2 Draxians. One nodded slightly. "Mr. and Mrs. Kim," Director Jung said finally, looking at them with all 4 eyes. "I'm afraid we cannot approve your loan application." Jaewon felt like someone had punched him in the stomach. Beside him, Mina squeezed his hand hard. "May I ask why?" Jaewon asked, keeping his voice even. "Our credit history is excellent. We've had accounts with Stellar for 15 years. Our business plan is sound." Director Jung's neck slits opened and closed several times. "Your species lacks the necessary traits for successful business in the Proxima sector. Historically, humans have not been reliable in paying back loans to non-human banks." Mina leaned forward. Her voice was calm but firm. "That's not true. Humans have one of the best repayment rates in the sector. You can check this with the Galactic Financial Authority." "Perhaps some humans," Director Jung said, his higher voice tone getting softer. "But your particular type has shown worrying patterns in our risk assessment systems." The room went very quiet. Jaewon and Mina looked at each other. They knew exactly what he meant. It wasn't just that they were human. It was that they were black humans. The 2 other Draxians looked uncomfortable. One started to say something, but Director Jung raised his hand to stop him. "Your application is denied," he said firmly. That is final. Jawan slowly gathered their papers and data chips. His hands wanted to shake, but he wouldn't let them. Not here. Not in front of these people. Thank you for your time, he said stiffly. As they walked out of the meeting room, Minna's face was like stone. She didn't speak until they were in the main lobby, passing other customers who were being helped quickly and politely. Did that really just happen? She whispered. In 2157, on a space station. It happened, Jawan said quietly. They're using alien computer systems to hide the same old human racism. At the front doors, Jawan stopped and looked back at the bank's large symbol on the wall, a crystal made of light that changed colors. Director Jung was watching them from across the lobby. What now? Minna asked, her voice stronger now. Another bank. Jawan shook his head. No, Stellar controls most of the loans on this side of the station. He stared at the symbol, thinking hard. We need to learn more about this bank, about how it works. Why? Minna asked. They already said no. Because I suddenly want to know everything about Stellar Credit Union, Jawan said. Their rules, their systems, their weaknesses. A small smile started to form on Minna's face. As the chief engineer for the station's defense systems, she knew a lot about finding weaknesses. You thinking what I'm thinking? She asked. If they won't let us join them, Jawan said, his eyes narrowing, then maybe we need to take over. They walked out of the bank into the busy station corridor. People and aliens of many kinds moved past them. Above, through the clear domed ceiling, they could see the stars and the swirling purple clouds of the Proxima Nebula. Jawan put his arm around Mina's shoulders. Let's call Taeyeon. He knows all about space station laws. And let's invite the Wongs and the Okois too. Why them? Minna asked. Because I bet they've also been denied loans, Jawan said. And together, we're going to show Director Jung that he picked the wrong humans to mess with. As they walked toward the transit tube, Jawan's mind was already racing with ideas. Director Jung thought he knew humans, but he was about to learn something new. Never underestimate humans when they're angry, especially when they're right. 2 weeks passed since the bank turned them down. Jawan sat at the kitchen table in their small apartment. The walls were covered with floating screens. Each screen showed different information about Stellar Credit Union. Minna walked in with 2 cups of hot tea. She put one next to Jawan and looked at his work. You've been busy, she said, sitting down. Jawan nodded. I requested all public records about Stellar. It took time, but the Galactic Records Office had to give them to me. It's my right as a citizen. Minna looked at one screen that showed money flows between different space stations. What did you find? Jawan pointed to a red flashing dot. This is Stellar Credit Union, and these lines show where their money goes. He touched one thick line. They've put too much money into the mining operations at Ta City. The mines aren't doing well, but Stellar keeps sending more money. They're hiding their losses, Minna said, understanding right away. If their investors knew, they'd be in trouble. Exactly. Jawan smiled. Before they moved to Proxima Station, he had been one of the best financial analysts on Earth. And there's more. He touched another screen that showed a long document with many small words. This is Stellar's founding charter, the rules they made when they first started the bank 50 years ago. Anything useful? Minna asked. Maybe. I need help understanding some of the legal terms. Jawan touched his wrist communicator. That's why I asked Taeyeon to come over. Just then, their door chimed. Mina went to open it. Taeyeon Park stood there with a small bag. He was shorter than Jawan, with round glasses and a friendly smile. He was one of the first humans to move to Proxima Station, and now worked as a legal advisor for many human businesses. I brought food, Taeyeon said, holding up his bag. Dumplings from the Earth Market. I figured you'd be too busy to cook. Soon, they were all eating around the table while looking at the screens. Taeyeon studied the charter carefully. This is very interesting, he said after a while. Stellar was started with what we call an open ownership model. That means anyone who puts money in the bank can become a part owner. Really? Minna looked surprised. I've had an account there for 15 years, and they never told me I could be an owner. Taehyun nodded. That's because they buried this information in the new customer agreements. It's there, but in such small print that no one notices it. He pointed to a section of the document. It says here that any depositor with an account open for 10 or more years can convert their deposits into Class B governance shares. What does that mean? Jaewon asked, getting excited. It means, Taehyun said with a growing smile, that if you have money in the bank for at least 10 years, you can turn that money into voting shares. You become a part owner of the bank with the right to vote on how it's run. Jaewon thought about what this meant. How many humans on this station have had accounts with Stellar for 10 years or more? Taehyun pulled out a small device and checked some numbers. Based on settlement records, at least 200 families. And how many have been denied loans? Minna asked. I asked around, Taehyun said. At least 47 human families have been turned down in the past year alone. Mostly darker-skinned humans like you two. Jaewon stood up and walked to the window. Outside, he could see the curved wall of the space station and the stars beyond. One of those stars was the sun that Earth orbited, so far away now. We need to talk to these families, he said. Find out how much money they all have in their accounts. Minna joined him at the window. You're thinking we could all convert our deposits to shares? Become owners of the bank? Yes, Jaewon said. But we need to know if we would have enough shares to make a difference. Taehyun was already working on his device. The Stellar Annual Report says they have 115,000 total governance shares outstanding. To have real power, you'd need at least 20%. How much is that? Minna asked. About 23,000 shares, Taehyun calculated. And each share costs 1,000 credits to convert from deposits. Jaewon did the math quickly in his head. So we would need humans with a total of 23 million credits in deposits. The three of them looked at each other. That was a lot of money. I know we have about 2 million in our accounts, Minna said. We've been saving for the restaurant for years. I have about 1 million, Taehyun added. So we need 20 million more, Jaewon said. He didn't look discouraged. Instead, he looked determined. We need to meet with the other human families. Tonight. 3 days later, Jaewon and Minna's apartment was full of people. 25 human families crowded the living room. Some sat on chairs, others stood against the walls. They were all kinds of humans. Different colors, ages, and backgrounds. But they all had two things in common. They had lived on Proxima Station for at least 10 years, and they had all been rejected by Stellar Credit Union. Thank you all for coming, Jaewon said, standing in front of them. I know many of you don't know me, but we share something important. We all want to build businesses and lives here, and we all face the same obstacle. A tall woman raised her hand. I tried to get a loan to expand my repair shop. They said no because of risk factors. But my shop has been profitable for 8 years. Others nodded. A man spoke up. They wouldn't give us a mortgage to buy our apartment, even though we've rented it for 12 years without missing a payment. More stories followed. All were the same. Qualified humans denied loans while Draxians with similar or worse financial histories were approved. When everyone had spoken, Jaewon explained what he, Minna, and Taehyun had discovered. He told them about the open ownership model and the right to convert deposits into voting shares. Together, he said, we might have enough money to become the largest voting bloc in the bank. We could change how they do business. We could make sure they treat everyone fairly. The room was quiet as people thought about this. How much money do we all need? Asked an older man in the back. Minna stepped forward. We've done the numbers. Between all the human families on this station, we need at least 23 million credits in total deposits. People started talking among themselves, calculating what they had. "We have 1.5 million saved," one family said. "We have almost 2 million," said another. One by one, each family shared their savings. Taehyun wrote down all the numbers. When he was done, he looked up with a big smile. "Together, we have 31 million credits in deposits at Stellar. More than enough." The room erupted in excitement. Jawan raised his hands for quiet. "This won't be easy. The Draxians won't like it. But everything we're doing is legal. They made the rules. We're just following them." A woman in front asked, "What's our plan?" Jawan looked at Minna, who nodded encouragingly. "First," he said, "we need everyone to sign the share conversion forms. Then we submit them all at once, right before their quarterly shareholder meeting. They won't have time to stop us." "And then?" someone asked. Jawan smiled. "Then we show up at the meeting as the new owners of Stellar Credit Union." The day of the bank's big meeting arrived. Jawan woke up early and put on his best suit, dark blue with a silver tie. He hadn't slept much the night before. There was too much to think about. Minna came out of the bathroom, already dressed in a sharp black business outfit. "Ready for the big day?" she asked. "As ready as I'll ever be," Jawan said. He checked his pocket for the small data stick that held all their conversion forms. Yesterday, they had sent in all the paperwork to the Galactic Banking Authority. Now it was official. The humans own 27% of Stellar Credit Union's voting shares. Their door chimed. It was Taehyun, also dressed in formal clothes. "The others are gathering at the transit station," he said. Everyone's nervous but excited. The three of them left the apartment and took the lift down to the main level of the Habitat Ring. Through the windows, they could see the curve of Proxima Station stretching away, its lights glowing against the blackness of space. At the transit station, a large group waited for them, all the human families who had joined their plan. Some looked worried, others determined. They all greeted Jawan, Minna, and Taehyun with nods and quiet words of support. "Remember," Jawan said to the group, "we have every legal right to be there. We followed all the rules. Stay calm and confident." The transit car arrived, a long tube-shaped vehicle that ran along the station's main axis. Everyone got in and found seats. The car started moving, picking up speed as it headed toward the financial district in the station's central hub. "Do you think they know what's coming?" a woman named Lisa asked. She ran a small shop that sold earth plants. Taehyun shook his head. "Not likely. The share conversions were only processed by the Galactic Banking Authority yesterday. The notice would reach Stellar's systems this morning." "Good," said an older man named Da. "I want to see their faces when we walk in." The transit car slowed and stopped at the central hub station. Everyone got out and walked together toward the large white building of Stellar Credit Union. It looked even bigger and shinier than usual today. Jawan checked the time. "The shareholder meeting starts in 20 minutes. Let's move calmly and get through security together." At the main entrance, 2 Draxian security guards stood watching. Their eyes widened when they saw the large group of humans approaching. One touched his wrist communicator, speaking quietly. "They're calling for backup," Minna whispered to Jawan. "They don't know why we're here, but they're worried." Jawan walked up to the guards. "We're here for the quarterly shareholder meeting," he said clearly. "We're shareholders." The guard looked confused. "Shareholders? All of you?" "Yes." Jawan handed over his identification and the official notice from the Galactic Banking Authority. "You can verify our status." The guard scanned the documents, and his neck slits fluttered in surprise. He looked at the other guard, who seemed equally shocked. After a moment, they stepped aside. "The meeting is in the Grand Conference Room, Level 5, the guard said stiffly. The humans walked through the doors into the bank's grand lobby. Many Draxians stopped to stare at them. It was unusual to see so many humans in the central hub, especially in the bank. They took the lift tubes to Level 5. The doors opened to reveal a long hallway with a large set of double doors at the end. 2 more guards stood there, looking nervous. "This is it," Jawan said to the group. "Remember why we're doing this. Not just for ourselves, but for all humans on this station, and for everyone who deserves fair treatment." The guards scanned their credentials and reluctantly opened the doors. Inside was a large, circular room with a round table in the center. Around it sat about 20 Draxians in formal business clothes. At the head of the table was Director Jung, talking to another Draxian. When the humans entered, the room went completely silent. Every Draxian turned to stare at them. Director Jung stood up, his 4 eyes blinking rapidly. "What is the meaning of this?" he demanded. "This is a private meeting for shareholders only." Jawan stepped forward. "We are shareholders, Director Jung." He connected his data stick to the room's main computer terminal. "As of yesterday, we collectively hold 27% of Stellar Credit Union's Class B governance shares." The display screens around the room lit up, showing the official share registry with the new human names highlighted in green. Director Jung's blue scales turned almost gray, a sign of shock in Draxians. This is impossible," he sputtered. "How did you?" Taehyun stepped forward. "Section 47C of your founding charter," he said calmly. "All depositors with accounts held for 10 or more years may convert their deposits to governance shares at a rate of 1 share per 1,000 credits." One of the older Draxians at the table leaned forward. "He's right, Jung. That provision is still active. I remember when we wrote it 50 years ago." Director Jung looked like he might fall over. But there has never been a non-Draxian shareholder before." "There are now," Minna said. 26 human families, to be exact. And according to the bank's bylaws, we are entitled to proportional representation on the board of directors." The room erupted in angry Draxian voices. Some were shouting, others making high whistling sounds that humans couldn't properly hear. Director Jung tried to restore order, but the other Draxians were too upset. Finally, one Draxian, older than the rest, with dark blue scales, banged his hand on the table. Everyone went quiet. "I am Elder Vish, founder of this institution," he said in a slow, deep voice. "The rules are clear. If these humans have legally acquired shares, then they have the rights of shareholders." He turned to look at Jawan. "You have orchestrated quite a surprise, young human. What exactly do you want?" Jawan stepped forward. All the humans behind him stood tall and strong. This was the moment they had planned for. "We want 3 things," Jawan said clearly. "First, we want 3 seats on the board of directors, proportional to our share ownership." Elder Vish nodded slowly. "That is your right. What else?" "Second, we want a complete audit and revision of your loan assessment algorithms. They are biased against humans, particularly those with darker skin colors. This is not just wrong. It's bad business." Some Draxians started to object, but Elder Vish raised his hand for silence. "And third?" he asked. "Third," Jawan said, "we want Director Jung to explain to everyone here why qualified human applicants were denied loans while less qualified Draxians were approved. We have the data to prove this happened." Director Jung's neck slits closed tight. He looked around the room, but found no support from the other Draxians. They all seemed to be waiting for his explanation. I was only following the risk assessment ratings," he said weakly. "The ones you programmed," Minna pointed out. "The ones that somehow always rated humans as high risk, no matter their financial history." Elder Vish turned his 4 eyes on Director Jung. "Is this true? Have you been using biased algorithms?" Before Director Jung could answer, Jawan connected another data chip to the system. The screens now showed 2 columns of loan applications, humans on one side, Draxians on the other. The humans had better credit scores, more savings, and longer business histories. Yet all were marked denied. The Draxian applications, with worse numbers, were all marked approved. The room went quiet again. The evidence was clear. Elder Vish slowly stood up. "It appears," he said, looking at all the Draxians in the room, that we have not been living up to the principles upon which I founded this institution. He turned to Jawan. Your 3 requests are granted. The meeting will now proceed with you and your fellow shareholders included. Jawan looked back at the human families behind him. There were smiles, nods, and a few tears. They had done it. They had taken on the system and won. As they all took seats around the table, Minna leaned over to Jawan and whispered, "This is just the beginning, isn't it?" Jawan nodded. Just the beginning. 1 year later, Stellar Inclusive Financial stood as a model institution in the Proxima sector. Its new logo, a quantum crystal embraced by hands of various species and colors, shone above the entrance where Jawan now walked as chairman of the board. The bank's loan portfolio had expanded by 60%, with default rates dropping to historic lows. By implementing Mina's advanced quantum algorithms, ones that actually accounted for the diversity of galactic commerce, they had revolutionized risk assessment throughout the sector. Director Jung had been quietly reassigned to a minor branch on a distant mining moon. In his place as chief operations officer stood Sun He, a brilliant financial expert who had been rejected for promotion 14 times under the previous leadership. "The Galactic Banking Authority is here," Sun He announced as Jawan entered the main conference room. 3 representatives, a Draxian, a human, and a Vexalian, waited inside. The human representative stepped forward. "Mr. Kim, the GBA has reviewed your institution's remarkable turnaround. Your multi-species loan approval model has proven so effective that the authority is recommending its adoption sector-wide." The Draxian representative nodded. "Our species has learned a valuable lesson from your success. Our traditional algorithms were limited by our perspective." Jawan smiled. "That's what happens when you embrace diversity instead of fearing it. Different perspectives reveal blind spots and create opportunities that benefit everyone." Later that evening, Jawan and Minna stood on the observation deck of their home, looking out at the swirling colors of the Proxima Nebula. Below them, the lights of the human quarter blended seamlessly with those of the Draxian and other alien districts. "Did you ever imagine we'd end up owning a bank when we moved here?" Minna asked, leaning against him. "No," Jawan laughed. "I just wanted to open our restaurant." "Which we did," Minna reminded him, pointing to the successful fusion eatery they'd established with their approved loan, the first official action of the newly reorganized bank. "We did more than buy a bank," Jawan said thoughtfully. "We changed a system, and that's the most human thing of all." Minna smiled. "Humanity for the win." "Humanity. ****, yeah," Jawan agreed with a grin.